The meeting of the Lowell City Council to order. Please rise and join me in the council prayer. Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Please join me now in honoring America. I pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, good evening. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Council Mercia.
Here.
Oh, I'm sorry. We didn't get Council Elliott. 9 present. Chair recognizes Council Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence and darken chamber for Neil Dennis Murphy. Neil Murphy was born and raised in Lowell and graduated from Central Catholic High School, class of 1999. As team captain and quarterback, he helped lead the team to 2 Super Bowl championships in '97 and '98. In outdoor track, he served as captain in his senior year. Neil graduated from Harvard University in Cambridge, Mass. With the class of 2003 with a Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology. Because of his 20-year battle with diabetes, he was involved with the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. He was a communicant of the Immaculate Conception Church in Lowell. He leaves behind his father, Dennis Murphy, a longtime Greater Lowell Tech teacher and football coach, his sister, Lauren Murphy, and her husband, Brian Occasion, a niece, Madeline, and his godson and nephew, Neil Murphy Occasion. He was also the son of the late Norma Murphy, who died in 2001. Norma was the administrative assistant to former city manager Brian Martin. Our sympathies to his family, relatives, and many friends. He will be truly missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mercia. Please rise now in a moment of silence and darken chamber. Thank you. May he rest in peace. First order of business is the acceptance of the minutes of the February 15th meeting.
So
Motion
moved.
by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Caulfield. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed to vote. Chair recognizes Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to ask for a suspension of the rules so that we could take a matter out of sequence. The 2 city council motions by City Councilor Frankie Dakota is urgent that we do this because the people that are here, one of the women is a signer, which is sign language, and she's on a schedule that she has to leave pretty soon, and we don't want to tie her up all night.
Motion by Councilor Mercia to suspend the rules, second by Councilor Mendonça. All those in favor of the suspension, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed to vote. We stand under suspension. Chair recognizes Councilor Dakota for, I believe, motion 17 on our agenda. Manager determined feasibility of plan that over a period of time gives portion of monies derived from handicap parking fines to Disability Commission for programs reducing hardships for disabled. Second by Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Dakota.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was recently appointed to the Disabilities Commission and had an opportunity to have my first meeting with them 2 weeks ago, and they were able to present some of their most important agenda items that we will be discussing tonight. And the first one is the difficulty that they find in helping to provide services that reduce the hardships on the disabled in the community. And so they asked that I bring this forward to find a way to determine if, over time, we can take some of the money that is derived from the fines from parking in handicap spots and move it into the Disability Commission's coffers for the purpose of being used on specific things, and they'll talk about that in a moment. But they do understand the financial risk and burden that we're in right now, and they don't expect a large sum of money, but would appreciate any effort that can be made to give them access to some funding. The primary thing that they're interested in is helping to cover the cost of closed captioning. The deaf and hard of hearing do not have access to these proceedings, to the government proceedings on LTC. They'd like to be able to participate with their government, and closed captioning would help them do that. They're also putting together a placard asking restaurants to keep their closed captionings on during business hours, restaurants and bars. They'd like to fund that. They also have interest in developing a handicapped accessible playground and giving wheelchair-bound residents greater access to their gardens. And I would like to invite Cheryl up to speak on this, if she would, please. But that is the intent of the motion.
Thank you, Councilor Dakota. Cheryl, if you'd like to. Yes. Thank you and welcome.
Hang on. If you want to take a microphone so people at home can hear you.
Okay, very good. First of all, I want to thank Frankie very much for paying attention to this issue. And I'm Cheryl Quintal, and I've grown up here, 22 2nd Ave, Lowell, Mass. And this is my first time standing before the council chambers. So I wondered if people had questions specifically, or what I should, what do people want me to speak on? I can add what was just said. I could add more about closed captioning and the need for closed captioning. The reason, as she said, we have deaf people, we also have hard of hearing people, and we have people who have cochlear implants. We have people who have hearing losses, but really are hearing, people who are not deaf. And all of those people could benefit from access through closed caption in all the different places that they congregate, and it would bring them into equity with hearing people. And people always worry about money, but that needs to stop being an excuse, because we deserve equality. And I'm hoping to get your support. I feel like we're visual people. We can't hear, so we depend on our eyes. And we need to have things, presented to us through our eyes. So thank you very much for your support.
Thank you for being here. Thank you so much. Any
You're
other
very
comments
welcome.
from any of
Thank
my
you for
colleagues?
inviting me.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes, I want to applaud Councilor Dakota for bringing this motion forward, and I'd like to forward the motion to Manager Lynch to let him come back with a report for the council. And serving with the Disabled Commission for many, many years, I know other communities have this program, but in essence, many of the dollars that we receive in fines and so forth go towards putting in cuts and so forth in sidewalks, and a portion of that money does go to alleviate the handicap problems that we have. But refer the motion to the manager, let him come back with a report, and I want to applaud Councilor Dakota for bringing this forward, and I want to thank the members of the Handicap Commission for their dedication and loyalty. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Elliott?
Just briefly, I also think it's a good motion. One of the items that the woman spoke to relative to closed caption, that seems to be something that we should be doing anyway. Really, it's a good point. Maybe people are not completely deaf but hard of hearing or impaired. It seems like it's an easy thing that hopefully LTC can just make happen. Good motion. I think it's a point well taken, but at the least we should be able to address that issue.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Elliott. Anyone else? Councilor Mendonça?
Yes, I certainly would support spending funds like this in a like manner. So if we're collecting it for people violating handicap laws, that those proceeds, at least in large part, should be used to improve the lives of those that it was intended to help. And I agree that even though this isn't a parking issue per se that's being requested, it still would be good to have the closed captioning done if we can find the means to do so. And so I support the motion to refer it to the manager in order to see what we can do to implement the closed captioning for the hard of hearing.
Thank you, Councilman Donza. Anyone else on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed? It's approved. Thank you. Next motion by Councilor Dakota.
Just add one point that as we talked about the kind of handicapped access signs that people have, that people understand that there's people who are disabled and are wearing, are in wheelchairs. But it would be great to have more signage if there's interpreters available, to have signs about that, to have the logo of the ear to say that, it's deaf-friendly, because really a lot of us are suffering. Our lives are very frustrating and very oppressed, and we're hoping that we could set up more visibility in the town, that there is available closed captioning or there's available interpreters to make us more visible so that people realize that there is a deaf community here.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Thank you. The next motion by Councilor Dakota, City Council requests the city manager have the appropriate department work with the Disability Commission for the purpose of adding a disabled indicator on the next Lowell census. Seconded by Councilor Elliott. Councilor Dakota.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. This motion is in the same vein as the previous one. As Cheryl indicated, that life is often frustrating as a deaf and hard of hearing person or disabled person in a wheelchair. And when she goes and asks for funds or other various support, she is oftentimes unable to indicate how many people in the community are deaf, hard of hearing, or disabled, and the group would like to see this indicator added to the census so that we can have clear numbers to support their efforts to reach out to the community.
Thank you, Councilor Dakota. Anyone else wanting to be heard on this motion? Would our guests like to be heard on the motion? Cheryl?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. We talked about this. This is not just a problem in Lowell. This is a problem in Massachusetts that's been discussed for many, many years. And I know with the economic cuts right now, people are losing essential services. And one of the issues is that we are getting our access denied, and we don't have the tools to fight with because we don't have a census. Now, I'm from Lowell, and so I thought, let's start with my hometown. If they knew who was deaf, who was hard of hearing, and who was late deafened, people who were brought up who could hear, but lost their hearing. Those people have different functions, those three. And then monies could be allocated accordingly because we would know who those populations are. And I wanted to thank all of you for the audience tonight.
Thank you, and we appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. All those in favor of the motion as presented signify by saying aye. Opposed to vote. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you, and thank you, Councilor Dakota. Thank you. The next order of business, going back to the regular agenda, under communications from city manager, responses to council motions and requests. I know we do have someone in the audience who would like to be heard on one of the responses. I'll recognize Councilor Martin.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's a response to a motion I made about regarding the feasibility of installing a left-hand turn lane as you're exiting the downtown, left turn onto Lakeview Avenue. I know there's been, it's a very difficult intersection. We all know that. We all know it's one of the worst in the state. We did get a report back from the manager about that says there is a state plan that's in the works, although that still appears to be a couple of years away. We were hopeful that maybe something could be done in the interim to allow a left-hand turn lane there. There are left-hand turns allowed at other points in the intersection, but not going from Bridge Street onto Lakeview Avenue. So that, I guess, is, and we're awaiting state response from that, at least according to the report. whether there could be something done in the interim until we have the full redesign plan. But in any event, Mr. Dickey is here and had asked to be heard on this, so I request a suspension of the rules to hear from Mr. Dickey, who I think has emailed and called several of us concerning this issue.
Okay. Motion by Council Martin, second by Council Mendonça, that we suspend the rules for the purpose of hearing from Daniel Dickey.
Daniel Dickey, 14 Bellevue Street, Lowell, Mass. I'm a lifelong resident of Lowell, and that Bridge Street Bridge has always been a left-only lane. All of a sudden, it turned into a straight lane and a left lane. Now, there's never been a directional lane for that lane there. There should be a directional. And then I asked the city manager to find out, and they found out that it's a state issue. I understand it's a state issue, but it's also a safety issue. All right, well, what's going to happen if somebody gets into an accident, which is the worst in the state? There's been over 100 accidents there in the last 3 years. I looked it up on Google. And all I'm saying is, let's get on the state rep that's in charge of that, and let's get it done now. I mean, not 2 years from now. What are we going to do, wait until somebody gets killed in that intersection? And then who's going to come on to the cities? That's all I got to say about it, I mean? I'm just, I'm concerned. I got a ticket. I paid a $150 ticket to put the light up myself, Right. Give me a ladder, I'll put it up there, Right. That's all,
Okay.
I got to say. And, I'm a lifelong resident of Lowell. I lived in Lowell all my life. And, a veteran and everything. And then come to see that, and it's like, the state owns it, and the city, we, get part of it, and
Right.
they don't want to put a light up. And then we're going to wait 2 years for a light? Don't make no sense.
Right.
It's especially being the worst intersection in the state.
That's right.
You know?
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Dickey,
you.
thank you for being
Thank you
here.
for City Council for listening to me.
Thank you. No, we appreciate you being here. Thank you. Council Martin?
Thank you.
regular
I
agenda.
did hear from Mr. Dickey about the ticket, and I'm sure he's not the only one in this situation, but, and at least as he described to me, he was at the red light, the light turns green, you proceed into the intersection, waits for all the traffic to pass, and then by the time you're able to turn, the light's red again. So when we're in a situation where not only a single car can make it through, it's a problem. So I do appreciate the state efforts to redesign this thing, but, we have a problem today, not 3 years from now.
Mr. Manager?
If I may, it is, as Mr. Dickey pointed out, one of the worst intersections in the state, and it's a very bad intersection for us for a variety of reasons. There's certainly safety issues, and there's also traffic flow issues that we have at that intersection. As I indicated to Mr. Dickey, and he spoke, and it's in the report, this is a state intersection, and they control that and control all that goes on there. But we have been pushing them, and that's why it's on the list, the statewide list, to be completed. And we're continuing to push on them to take some interim steps, and we will continue to do so. And certainly, I believe Representative Golden has been working on that with us, but we'll certainly reach out to him once again. He's been very good about helping us on a number of similar projects in the city. So again, we're aware of it. We are pushing forward on it, and the good news is that something will be done there, even during these tough economic times when the state is cutting back on many projects around the Commonwealth. But we'll keep the council updated on how that proceeds.
Thank you. Council Caulfield?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to echo what Manager Lynch has just said, that there were thousands upon thousands of intersections in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Western Mass, Cape Cod, Boston, North Shore, South Shore. And the worst intersection in this state is Bridge Street and the BFW Highway. And I don't think Mass Highway would have a problem addressing this issue. I think they jumped to the fact that let's see if we can correct the problem that exists there. And for the benefit of everyone, whether they live in Lowell or they're just passing through Lowell, or you're a pedestrian, or you're a bicyclist. It has to be addressed, and there's 10 worse intersections, and I think Lowell has 3 of them, so.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else to be heard on the communications, responses to council motions? Council Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That is exactly what happened. It's the best definition, an example of the word entrapment, to be given a way to go, and then you're gone, and you're stuck right in the middle, and then you're issued a ticket, which, you know, that's a lot of money in today's hard times, so I can appreciate the gentleman fighting for that. I know there's many intersections in the city that, with the traffic lights, that should be modernized and improved and upgraded, and they're not. But that being the number one in the area should have top priority, and then people wouldn't be entrapped to be ticketed. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Donza, then Council Martin.
Yes, I was just going to bring up a different topic.
Sure,
That's all right.
absolutely.
In our packet from the city manager, there was a response to a motion I had about the implementation of vacant foreclosed homes. And it seems to me like recently a lot has been done to address the situation. As I expected, I mean, some of the things they have are the code enforcement in the 4 quarters of last year, and we're generally below 100 in violations issued for most of the first 3 quarters. When we got to the 4th quarter, it had jumped up to 334 citations were issued, and that means that after the reorganization of the inspectional services into development services, they're out there inspecting these properties and issuing fines. Also, the revenues for the fiscal year, it's actually for the 3 years worth of revenue from 2009 on regarding these ordinances. There was a collection of over $113,000 from registrations, and I believe fines as well. I don't think that was just the registration of vacant foreclosed homes, but there's also another $280,000, a little over that, for fines that, depending on, will be turned into liens, which will mean that the city will be able to collect on those if they ever try to sell or transfer the property. They'd have to bring this up to date, so the city will ultimately collect on that. So what I'm taking from this is that since the reorganization, there has been a lot of activity in enforcement, and I suspect that will continue forward. Related to that, there's also a response about a proposal that we received we had heard that we were missing out on millions of dollars in possible revenue, but they examined some of the items on there as kind of an auditing kind of thing, and most of those would have produced far less than it claimed, either because they would not have been in violation, even if they were foreclosed on, they might not have needed any maintenance, which that basically assessment that was given to us assumed that because they were going to be foreclosed on, they would also be able to apply the maximum fines to it, and that wasn't true in many cases. And so there's at least 5 cases in the report where the actual that we could collect is far, far less than what was listed in the report as an estimate. So I just wanted to highlight that and thank the manager and his team for the report. It seems like the enforcement is ongoing, and maybe in another year we can check on it again, see if it has continued. It's obviously very important to our neighborhoods.
Thank you, Councilman Donta. Council Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was going to comment on both of those reports as well, and at least request that they be perhaps referred to the Housing Subcommittee for. I mean, I'd like to explore some of the trends here, as well as the work we had requested that Richard Howe do at the Registry of Deeds. I know he's got a report that's either been distributed or ready for distribution, and so I'd like to take up these reports with his report. And we're as concerned as we are about foreclosures, that I think they represent an opportunity for us in some ways, with our first-time homebuyer programs, which I think have been overwhelmingly successful. Very few of the people that have gone through a city first-time homebuyer program have been foreclosed upon, and that's partly because of the classes and things that they're required to go through, and so they go in it with their eyes open. And I think partly it's because people aren't trying to take advantage of them. They're trying to actually help these people become homeowners. So I think there's a positive story to be told here, and I'd like to see how this data impacts that. And so if there's no objection, I'd ask that these reports be referred to the Housing
A
Subcommittee.
motion by Council Martin, seconded by Councilman Johnson to refer the reports to the Housing Subcommittee. Any discussion? All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Opposed is a vote. Mr. Manager, did you want to be recognized?
If I could, Mr. Mayor, just a couple of brief comments. I want to thank both councilors for noting these reports. I'm very pleased with the progress that's been made by the reorganization that we've made in inspectional services and the newly created developmental services division of the Department of Planning and Development. I think there's been a lot of hard work that's been put forward by our inspectors and our planning staff, and I'd like to take the opportunity in particular to note the hard work that Adam Bakey has put in as the Director of Planning and Development, Assistant City Manager for Planning and Development, and also Kendra Amaral, our newest Deputy Director. They've worked tirelessly over the last several months in getting this division up and running, putting systems in place, doing all the things we said we wanted to do when we talked about reorganizing that function of city government. And I think the feedback I'm getting from the neighborhoods is very, very positive, not only with Kendra and her work and the inspectors, but also with Allegra Williams, our neighborhood planner. There's a very good relationship, and there's always been a good relationship, certainly with DPD and the neighborhoods, but that has been, believe it or not, improving even more with these staff people. And I know that Councilman Johnson, this was, I believe, not that I keep track of all the councilors' motions, but I believe this is one of Councilman Johnson's first motions, if not his first motion, of what our plans were for reorganizing inspectional services, where that stood. And we were very pleased to do the work, get the support of the council to get that reorganization in place, and I think it's paying off in dividends for us. So I want to thank the councilors for noting these particular reports at tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Anything else on the communications? Councilor Murphy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We also received a response to a motion I had brought up in a similar way, addressing this problem of blighted and abandoned properties. There was a program cited in Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona, in which fees were reduced to a certain point for properties in targeted areas, and it was in response to an original motion, actually, by Councilor Dakota. And in this response, we found actually that the fee structure that we have now is not significant enough for that to be an incentive for people to buy these properties up. But I think that an earlier motion that I had made on really addressing this through perhaps the state legislature in working out a property abatement for, again, properties that are to be owner-occupied in targeted areas, that we may want to relook at that and refer that particular response to the Housing Subcommittee as well, to come at it at a different way, rather than just being punitive, to provide some financial incentive for these properties to be turned over as quickly as possible, so that you do bring up the quality of life in the neighborhoods.
Okay. You want to put that in the form of a motion?
Sure.
To send that to the Housing Subcommittee, seconded by Councilor Dakota. Any discussion? All in favor of sending that report to the Housing Subcommittee signify by saying aye. Opposed to vote. Anyone else on communications? Accept the communications and place on file by Council Martin, seconded by Council Caulfield. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed to vote. Moving on, public hearing time. We have one public hearing this evening, conduit location, Verizon to place 142 feet of conduit in River Place. Open up the public hearing for those wishing to speak in favor. In favor. Hearing none. Those wishing to speak in opposition. In opposition. Hearing none. Public hearing is closed. Motion to refer to the wire inspector by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor of referring to the wire inspector signify by saying aye. Opposed to vote. Thank you. Getting back to the city manager's agenda, request for out-of-state travel. I believe we have three this evening. Move approval.
Move approval and take them all together. Thank you.
By Councilor Mercia, that we take them all together, and second by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor of taking them all together signify by saying aye. Opposed to vote. Motion to approve by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Dakota. Roll call.
Counselor Martin?
Yes.
Counselor Mendonça?
Yes.
Counselor Mercia?
Yes.
Mayor Milonazo?
Yes.
Counselor Murphy?
Yes.
Counselor Broderick?
Yes.
Counselor Caulfield?
Yes.
Counselor Dakota?
Yes.
Counselor Elliott?
Yes.
Next item, dear Mr. Mayor, members of the Lowell City Council, pursuant to the authority specified in the Code of the City of Lowell, Section 39-1, it is with pleasure that I am appointing Mary Ann Greers of 525 Pawtucket Boulevard, number 202, to a term expiring December 31st, 2014, or until such time thereafter as a successor is appointed and qualified. This is appointment of a trustee to the Pollard Library Board of Trustees. Confirmation by the City Council is required for this appointment and is hereby requested. I would be happy to answer any inquiry you may have concerning this appointment. Enclosed for your review is a copy of Mary Ann's resume.
Move for approval.
Move for approval by Councilor Caulfield, second by Councilor Murphy. Any discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Martin?
Yes.
Counselor Mendonça?
Yes.
Counselor Mercia?
Yes.
Mayor Milonazo?
Yes.
Counselor Murphy?
Yes.
Counselor Broderick?
Yes.
Counselor Caulfield?
Yes.
Counselor Dakota?
Yes.
Counselor Elliott?
Yes.
9.
Thank you. In City Council vote that pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 31D, the City Council of the City of Lowell consents to incur liability and make expenditures in excess of available appropriations for snow and ice removal in the current fiscal year. Whereas the City of Lowell totally encumbered the line item for services from its snow and ice removal appropriation for fiscal year 2011, and whereas it is anticipated that additional snow and ice removal services will be required in this fiscal year, and whereas the approval of expenditures in excess of available appropriations for snow and ice removal by the city manager and the City Council is required under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 31D, and whereas the city manager has approved such expenditures, now therefore it is voted by the City Council of the City of Lowell as follows: that pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 31D, the City Council of the City of Lowell hereby approves expenditures for snow and ice removal in excess of the available appropriation for such purpose during the current fiscal year. Be it further voted that said expenditures shall be certified to the Board of Assessors and included in the next annual tax rate. There's no objection. Second reading by title. Vote that pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 31D, the City Council of the City of Lowell consents to incur liability and make expenditures in excess of available appropriations for snow and ice removal in the current fiscal year. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager, Tom Moses. This has been the worst winter I've ever gone through. And approximately how much money have we expended? Probably
It's bad. It's bad news.
$1.5 million a month ago, so I don't know what it might be now.
It's bad news, so I'll let Mr. Moses give it.
We spent about $2.7 million, a little more than $2.7 million.
$2.7 million.
Right, which is about $1 million more than we spent all last year.
I know. And is there any, I know, Mr. Manager, you were going to contact members of the Mass Municipal, so is there any way maybe the federal government or anyone can come I know the state can't, but.
Right. So far, the answer is no, but we're still pushing forward. In fact, I have a meeting tomorrow with some people from some other mayors in the state in this on another topic, and this will be a topic I plan to talk to them about, though.
2.7 million?
2.7, and we appropriated 650,000, so we're roughly $2.1 million over. The bulk of that, the big jump this year, is not in overtime. The jump is in contractors and sand and salt. There's a big jump in sand and salt because of the storms we've
I
had.
read in the paper where there's a community that
Quincy.
they charge, Quincy,
Right.
by the inch.
That's cutting edge. They're I think the first community that's done that. And Mr. Herbert, Mike Herbert, and Ralph Snow have been talking to people down there to see if that might make sense for us next year.
Yeah, okay.
Every few years, something new sort of comes out on snow. A few years back, the idea that was floated out was snow insurance. And then that turned out to be not so great. But this one I think has some possibilities. They're saving about 10% in the areas of Quincy that they've used this for and I'm sorry I jumped into your explanation, but essentially they're paying contractors by the inch as opposed to by the hour.
Right.
And so there might be some savings there for us.
And the long-range weather forecasts for winters in the Northeast are going to be severe. Not every year, they're going to get just as bad. So I'm looking forward to that. So.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Two things. One was Councilor Caulfield asked a question I was going to ask. Secondly, have we received that new piece of equipment yet? Not yet.
We haven't received it yet. It's possible it'll be here this week. If we had known that ordering that equipment would result in the end of any snowfall, we would have ordered it back in December. Right, but so yes, they've. I think when we came to the council and got the approval, when we put it on the agenda, there were 2 on the lot the week before, and they came in, they went right out, and we were supposed to get the next one in, and I believe they were talking roughly this time frame.
Right. Okay. Secondly, I know last year we used, unexpended funds or unreserved fund balance to cover, I think, about 1.3 million. I know 2.1 is a huge number, but is it the intent of the administration to try to do the same thing? I guess it's a little bit of a rhetorical question, but at this point, you have any idea how much you may be able to do? I know, probably looking for a needle in a haystack, but
we don't have it right. We can't really answer that right now, but Councilor. But I think if you go back, and I think almost every year that we've been here, that has been what we've tried to do, and I think we've done it in every year. We haven't necessarily closed it every year,
right. But
I think there was one year we didn't. But that is our intention. Yes.
And I know we all make this point, but I think it's important to note that by doing that, it keeps taxes down. It doesn't go on the tax rate. It comes out of the existing budget, where, this allows us, to spend above and beyond, and then it goes on top of the existing budget. So I think that's an important note, that the administration does use whatever unexpended funds from other budgets to cover to cover the snow and ice deficit.
That is our goal, and I know it's in keeping with the council's desire to keep taxes down. So we're in line on that. Yes.
Thank you. Anyone else on this? What's the wish of the council? Move approval by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Elliott. Roll call.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Mendonça?
Yes.
Councilor Mercia?
Yes.
Mayor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Murphy?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Dakota?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
9.
Thank you. In City Council order pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, concerning Section 266-6 thereof entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations, Temporary Traffic Regulations, are hereby implemented for a period of 60 days, whereas the City of Lowell desires to make temporary rules regulating traffic under actual conditions for a period of 60 days, and whereas Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Lowell Section 266-6 thereof entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations authorizes the City Council to make such temporary rules for a period not to exceed 60 days. Now therefore be it ordered, adjudged, and decreed by the City Council of the City of Lowell as follows. Effective immediately for a period of 60 days thereafter, the following temporary traffic regulations shall be implemented. Section 266-65, loading zones, Section C, loading zones are hereby designated at the following location, is hereby amended by adding the following. North Street on the north side, beginning 20 feet east of the easterly curb line of Central Street, running easterly along North Street for a distance of 60 feet between the hours of 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. Section 266-52, 30-minute parking areas, A, between the hours of 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. on every day except Sundays and holidays. No person shall park, stand, or stop a vehicle for a period of time greater than 30 minutes in the following areas is hereby amended by adding the following. Central Street on the easterly side, beginning 20 feet north of the northerly curb line of North Street, running northerly along Central Street for a distance of 20 feet. Second reading by title in City Council order pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances in the City of Lowell concerning Section 266-6 thereof entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations. Temporary traffic regulations are hereby implemented for a period of 60 days. It's the wish of the council. Move approved by Councilor Caulfield, seconded by Councilor Murphy. Roll call.
Counselor Martin?
Yes.
Counselor Mendonça?
Yes.
Counselor Mercia?
Yes.
Mayor Milonazo?
Yes.
Counselor Murphy?
Yes.
Counselor Broderick?
Yes.
Counselor Caulfield?
Yes.
Counselor Dakota?
Yes.
Counselor Elliott?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank you. Moving on with the agenda under reports, Council Rules Subcommittee met this evening. The chair recognizes the chairman, Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The council met this evening to consider Councilor Murphy's motion concerning the electronic receipt of materials in the council rules. As they stand today, council is required to be provided hand-delivered packet of the things to be considered at the meeting in advance of the meeting. Usually that happens on Friday evenings. Councilor Murphy's motion was to allow for an alternative means of delivery by electronic means. And so the subcommittee met to take up that topic. The other members of the committee, Councilor Mercier and Councilor Mendonça, were present. I know, Mr. Mayor, you were there, and I believe Councilor Caulfield and Councilor Dakota. We had some discussion about this, and it was the recommendation of the subcommittee that the council rules be altered to allow the option of a councilor receiving the packet either electronically or by hard copy, or by both, I guess, at least until we see how the electronic delivery is worked out. There's a view of the solicitor that that would not prohibit people that receive the thing electronically to have some sort of electronic device at their desk to consult it, which is the whole point, is to avoid the printing. So the council voted to adopt, there was a proposed change to the rules that the solicitor proposed, but they essentially said that it would be optional to the councilors how they chose to receive the packet. So we voted to recommend that the rules be changed to reflect that, and I would submit that as a report. If the full council adopts the recommendation of the subcommittee, then the solicitor would bring a formal vote that we would vote on at the next meeting.
Okay, Councilor Mercia.
Thank you. And we did learn from the city manager, Mr. Mayor, that this process, when all is said and done, could start as early as March and some probably as late as April, but that would be a good thing. And having said that, Rule 12 would also be changed in a sense that we, as a council, have until 2 o'clock on Friday to bring in our motions, whether we call it in or whatever, to the city clerk's office. But because of the electronic filing and downloading and things for the public to get in a timely fashion, we will amend that rule and bring it up till noontime of that Friday. So that'd be, it's a give and take, and so I'd be amenable to that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mercia. Councilor Elliott and Councilor Broderick.
So question to the chairman or the solicitor. So it's acceptable, it's okay for us to bring a laptop to to bring up the electronic version, right?
As long as you're not playing solitaire, it's okay.
Or checking on the Red Sox. The rules are silent as to that.
Okay.
However, again, just it would defeat the purpose
Right.
to some degree to not do that, so,
Okay.
by necessary implication.
And secondly, I know this is probably just an anomaly, but we received a confidential communication this week. How would that work with, would that just be sent separately, I suppose, and not included in the electronic version that's, that the public would, or that's acceptable to the public or sent out to the public? Excuse me.
Yeah, I would think that would be the way we would do that, just send it as a
Separate communication.
communication.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Thank you. Council Broderick?
Thank you. I'm going to ask the same question about do we need to change the rule to allow laptops or electronic devices, number one? And number two, the practical aspect of it is, do we have plugs here to plug the laptops in? Because some of these meetings run a few hours, and I know my laptop would probably run low on juice. I don't know. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. We have some time to figure it out, but as I'm looking around, I don't see plugs.
Mr. Manager?
We could speak to the about having plugs in, or we could have shorter meetings.
I like the second.
Okay. Thank you. Council Caulfield?
There's an old cliche, if it's not broken, don't fix it. That's my comment.
Thank you. Council Murphy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the report from the city solicitor and hope that this can, as was stated earlier, save the city some money. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion to accept the report of the subcommittee's report of progress by Councilman Mendonça, seconded by Councilor Elliott. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, the vote. Any other subcommittee reports?
Yes,
This is
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Caulfield.
It is a report in a sense. The Public Safety Subcommittee meeting, Councilor Dakota, Councilor Elliott, we had a meeting early in January about the shooting New Year's Eve. And in attendance was the entire Lowell delegation, Senator Eileen Donoghue, Representative Murphy, Representative Golan, Representative Nangle, Police Chief Ken LaValle, the city manager, the entire city council. And it was well attended, and also District Attorney Jerry Leone was present as well. And at that meeting, we did ask for a meeting with Governor Patrick, and that's been 2 months, and I don't think we're going to receive that meeting. But I want to applaud Senator Eileen Donoghue. She has filed a very important bill that would prohibit anyone who's in violation of a firearm or breaking the law with an illegal firearm. They would not be released in their own personal recognizance. Also, District Attorney Leone, State Representative Murphy, and Police Chief Ken LaValle are also working on a bill that every community in the state, anyone who was in the process of storing firearms, they would have to report to the local police departments and let the police departments make sure that those firearms are safe, they're locked in a safe way, safe manner. And if they didn't do that, they would be also breaking the law. So a lot of good has come out of that Public Safety Subcommittee meeting, and a lot of good because District Attorney Leone and the Lowell delegation were present. They heard us. They're going to, Senator Donoghue has already presented a bill, and I called her, she was on the radio last week, and I called her to thank her, and I said, Senator, there shouldn't be any debate on that bill. And not only would it benefit Lowell, but it would benefit the entire state, and hopefully that bill would get national support as well. There are just too many guns on the street and too many people that aren't responsible with them in their hands. So with that said, I want to thank the Public Safety Subcommittee, the council, and everyone who attended that meeting, because I thought a lot of good is going to come out of that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that report, Councilor Cofield. Councilor Mendoza.
Yes, at the last meeting, I had announced that we were scheduling a collegiate partnership subcommittee for this evening. Obviously, it didn't happen, and that was because some key personnel from the university could not attend. They had conflicting schedules and asked that we postpone the meeting, and I honored their request. So we'll be rescheduling that to a later date, Tuesday, when there's not another meeting already scheduled.
Thank you. Councilor Martin.
Thank you. And the Rules Subcommittee also scheduled a meeting for next Tuesday at 5 p.m. to take up Councilor Murphy's motions on election law matters that are still pending before the committee.
Thank
So
you.
we'll have that meeting next week.
Thank you. Anything else on the subcommittees? Hearing none, before we move on to the next item, number 9, Councilor Elliott has noted that we have some guests in the audience this evening from UMass Lowell, and I just want to recognize them and thank them for being here. I guess they're auditing the council meeting for what, a community psychology class at the University of Massachusetts Lowell, so thank you very much for being here. The next item under petitions, wire inspector, Verizon conduit and Plain Street, National Grid 2 poles on Varnum Avenue. Accept the reports and adopt the accompanying orders by Councilor Mendoza, seconded by Councilor Dakota. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed to vote. Thank you. Under petitions, we have a miscellaneous petition. Residents of Glenmere Street request street light pole number 2. Refer to the city manager by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Those petitioners, and there were 8 signatures from the immediate street of Glenmere Street, they signed this petition, and that was in response as well to my motion about a month ago that it's in conjunction with that. I guess evidently they thought nothing is going to be done, but the manager did forward me a communication and an explanation as to the fact that the lights are not, it's not a done deal yet where the manager has purchased those lights. So until such time, we would put them on the list and put them and do that for them when the time is right that we make that transaction, that transferal of the lights. Having said that, the manager could explain it much better than I did. So I copied that 8 times, and I went out the other day to all 8 homes where the people signed the petition so that they would understand fully where we stand here. And believe me, it's very important because it is dark. I've been there at night, so I didn't want people to think that we fell asleep and we're not going to help them. We certainly are, but things take time, and they understand that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mercia. Any other discussion? All those in favor of referring to the city manager signify by saying aye. Opposed to vote. Next petition, Iris Feliciano, 45 Beach Street, requests handicap parking sign. Refer to the traffic engineer by Councilor Caulfield, seconded by Councilor Dakota. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, I'm sorry.
If on this item, usually for handicap parking, if the quarterly aid update's not imminent, if we could have a 60-day trial, should this be deemed appropriate?
Second.
Second, motion by Councilor Mendoza, seconded by Councilor Mercia, that we institute this with a 60-day trial. So we'd have to have the vote come back to the council for 60-day trial period. Okay. All those in favor of doing this as a 60-day trial signify by saying aye. Opposed to vote. It'll also be referred to the traffic engineer. We have 4 claims for property damage referred to the law department by Councilor Murphy, seconded by Councilor Elliott. All those in favor of referring the 4 claims to the law department signify by saying aye. Opposed to vote. Thank you. Moving on to the motions. The first motion this evening by Councilor Mercia. Motion, City Council requests the city manager have the proper department install and have the proper vote drawn for a 4-way stop sign at Glenwood Street and Luce Street. Seconded by Councilor Elliott. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to request that a 4-way stop sign at the intersection of Glenwood and Luce Street. There is a stop sign on Glenwood Street, but there is not a stop sign on Luce Street. So therefore, I need a stop sign on Luce Street to make it a 4-way stop intersection. This motion comes at the request from a resident who informed me that people tend to speed so fast that those stopped at the stop sign at Glenwood proceed to move forward and are hit from people speeding down Loose Street. Such an incident happened recently that the collision ended up on this resident's front yard where his children had momentarily been playing on just previously, just a few minutes before. If they hadn't gone into the house, they probably would have been severely hurt or killed, and this frightened the man so bad, and rightfully so. This action prompted one resident to have me make this motion, and I informed him that I, along with other members of this council, have previously made the same motion to get a report back from the traffic engineer that says that it isn't warranted. So I have, in 2005, made this motion. Someone else has made this motion. John Leahy from the school committee has asked someone to make this motion as well. He has this concern. And I'm wondering that if it's because nobody's gotten killed there. It seems that that's what one of the requirements are to get a four-way stop, and I'm wondering why we have to wait so long for someone to get killed. But here's the story. I received this on my desk this evening, and it's a letter from this gentleman that lives on Frothingham Street, and he's talking to me about the intersection at Loose Street. And he had written this letter to our previous former city manager, John Cox, back in 2005, where he asks to request action by the city to rectify that dangerous situation at this specific, as they exist at this specific intersection. And he's telling me of all the different accidents that have happened there. In one collision that occurred at this intersection, one of the cars involved subsequently crashed into a utility pole. No one was really seriously hurt, but they were shaken up. In another accident, a mail truck flipped over on Loose Street. I climbed through the rear cargo door to help the dazed driver out. Fortunately, they escaped injury, but I'm sure that there's a CAD system report somewhere in the police department that talks about all these things. Sadly, another accident at this intersection resulted in tragedy. An elderly woman drove through the stop sign, colliding with a sports utility vehicle that subsequently crashed into the utility pole. The woman was taken to the hospital and died. Oh, well, evidently there is a death there, so I'm telling you right now, this is warranted. The woman's obituary appeared in the paper a couple of weeks later. This is unbelievable that so many incidents, and I could go on and on. This gentleman just provided me that on the desk this evening. So I hope I don't have to keep making this motion, but it is very, very dangerous. And it seems it's been made a number of times. So I'm just appealing and pleading to please help me.
Thank you, Councilor Mercia. Mr. Manager?
Mr. Mayor and Councilors, to Councilor Mercy's motion, I will go back and we will review all of that information, and we'll come back to it with a report, and we'll talk to the council about it. I do think it would be advisable, and I'll just speak with Mr. Bakey about this, about having a presentation perhaps by our traffic engineers to a traffic engineer and related staff, to talk about the rules that we have to operate under to protect the city from any liability. There's several aspects to this. One is certainly the liability. The other is in fact public safety. I know that seems counterintuitive to the motion that is seeking to improve public safety, but sometimes these four-way stops or traffic devices, if they're misused, they can result in very serious public safety hazards. That in fact, if in this particular case, someone isn't expecting a four-way stop, if it doesn't make sense for a four-way stop, the person that's traveling in the other direction may be stopped and assume that the other people know that there's a stop sign there. But if it doesn't make sense for a stop sign to be there, they're not going to necessarily see it. And they're going to go through And then you could have some very serious public safety, some serious injuries. You could have some serious accidents. That's the rationale for it. There is a standard by which we have to abide here in the Commonwealth in order to, we're governed by state law and state regulations as to how we install traffic signals and traffic control devices. But let's take a look at this information. That's some new information that I was not aware of. We'll go back, we'll look at that, and then we'll come in with a report and, as I say, a presentation by our traffic engineers. So that not only, this isn't necessarily for the councils, because I know the councils understand this, but for the public, so that they understand what has to go into making a decision as to put up a stop sign or to put up a traffic signal.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Manager. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed to the vote. Next motion by Councilor Mercier. Motion requests the City Council to go on record in support of a resolution denouncing community service grant cuts.
Second.
Second by Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm presenting a motion to my colleagues to join forces with the 10-member state congressional delegation, specifically U.S. Representative Nikki Tsongas, to go on record in support of a resolution denouncing the community service grant cuts. Although I am disclosing that I am one of the members of the CTI board, I am convinced that these cuts would affect the city as a whole if these cuts were made. The big picture here is community, and we are partners to many. The training programs that would be cut is a partnership between CTI and the local hospitals that provide a valuable service in the field of healthcare. We're talking about jobs. The lost training minus lost jobs equals no money to pay the rent or the taxes, and that affects this city. We're talking about Youth Build. It provides assistance and construction training to the youth to secure diplomas, and that is a means to gain employment. These are the youths who gets a second chance to improve their lives. Take away this program with funding cuts, and we have more kids lost in the street to possibly join gangs and go astray. And yes, that does affect the city. If these federal budget cuts of $500,000 go through, it will be devastating to the city, and I think that we ought to voice our opposition and take a stand. Although these cuts would apply to the fiscal year 2012 budget, Congress is putting together a mid-year spending plan, and it could also include cuts to service grants for the rest of the current fiscal year. But if I could go back to the original motion and amend it, because it's not just about cuts on CTI, it's about cuts in general. Now, I'm talking about community service grant cuts that the 10-member congressional district supported. It should be amended as well to include, and I'm going to ask that my colleagues refer this motion not only to the city manager, but the city solicitor as well, because we have to draft this resolution in such a way to include CDBG funding. Well, that is talking about public safety, that is talking about, many things. CDBG grant cuts will not only affect CTI's affordable housing and anti-poverty program, but the programs as well in the city, such as infrastructure improvements and essential funding to DPD, as well as grant-funded positions in public safety. Now, we know that we're already down 31 police officers and 9 firefighters, so I'm amending my own motion, if you'll allow me to do that, to include in such a way not just the community service grant cuts, but the CDBG funding cuts. And so, Mr. Manager, I'm asking you to talk to your department heads and see what cuts are going to be made there in the public safety, in DPD with Adam Bakey, and how will this affect our different departments here, so that maybe we can put all this resolution into the whole ballpark and include everything that we need to get done. And take a stand and send this message how these cuts will be devastating to our city to run well, and that's strictly, specifically where I'm going with that, if we can do
There's
that.
no objection to amending the motion as presented to include the CDBG grant funds? No objection. Okay, so as amended, then request the city council go on record in support of a resolution denouncing community service as well as community development block grant cuts.
Right, thank
Okay.
you.
And we'll get a resolution back from the city manager and the law department. All those, yes, Councilor Caulfield.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to, we have a lot of grants for the police department, fire department as well, so that will all be included in the
Yes,
overall.
yes.
All grants that affect
That's
the
right,
cuts.
that's
Right,
what I'm
right.
referring it to the manager to talk to the different departments. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, to vote. Next motion's been filed by Councilor Elliott. The next motion. City Council requests the city manager report of the impact of population loss from last census count and discuss the process of redistricting wards and precincts. Second by Councilman Mendonça. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess I should have focused more on just what exactly the process is, Mr. Manager. I have to admit, I was sitting here 10 years ago, and I can't recall what the process was, or if just, the redistricting or the realignment of, water precincts. What is the process? Because I don't remember, and considering the impact, not just on the federal level, but also on the state level, and how that may or may not affect the state reps we have, and things of that nature. So, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Manager.
If I may, I think the best thing for me to do is to develop a full report for the council outlining the various steps. And we haven't received the federal census information yet. That's being rolled out state by state. I do know that the state legislature is already starting to talk about how they're going to do the districts, not only the state rep and state senate districts, but also the congressional districts. Massachusetts is pretty clear is going to lose another House seat. So they're looking at that. And then, of course, we have our own issues internally in the city for ward and precinct. So everything's going to be done at different levels. So it might be, I think the best response I can give right now is, obviously we're ready to put something together for the council to review that.
That sounds fine. I have to admit, many moons ago, I actually worked with former mayor, and it's Brendan Fleming. I was a city planner in DPD and worked with him on the census and the shifts, and I presume that just went to the council. So I'll look forward to the report to see if there is a process, and can and should, the public should be involved in how that's going to work out. But that's the motion. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Elliott. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, to vote. Next motion is actually filed by two councilors, Councilor Dakota and Councilor Mercia. Motion. City Council requests the city manager determine the feasibility of having police department work with the sheriff's office and the police department to create a front-end crime deterrent based loosely on the scared straight model. Councilor Dakota.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. During the public safety meeting that Councilor Caulfield mentioned earlier, we received a presentation that explained both front-end and back-end police work. The front end tries to prevent crime. The back end does the investigation of crime. And it seemed to be the case that the front end is very effective and perhaps more cost-effective than the back-end work, although back-end work, of course, is necessary. The scared straight model is a fairly successful model that's been implemented over the decades. It would be a front-end strategy where youth who are potentially at risk for getting into crime and ending up in jail or prison are taken into the local jail or prison and presented by the inmates with an inmate-run program what it's like to be in jail and where their life would lead if they continue down the path that they are potentially on. My father worked in prisons for 30 years as a chaplain and had great experiences with these type of programs. Doesn't always work, but they are inmate-run programs. I understand that the sheriff's office is intending to restructure and thought that perhaps this might be a good time for the sheriff and the city of Lowell to collaborate.
Thank you. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This actually is a very good motion, because I think that where the Sheriff Katujian is restructuring and going about with getting different ideas from people, this would be a pretty good take to offer. Right now, it isn't in existence, but who says that it can't be? What we do as a council to bring in ideas to make this a better community is always the best thing to do. They have a program on TV that focuses on Scared Straight initiative, and in most cases, it does work. And so I did speak to Superintendent Ken LaValle just the other day. We were at a function together, and I told him about this motion, and he said, well, it's worth looking into. I think anything is valuable if we can try to save lives. You get these young people in prison, and they say, gee, if I had only known what it was like. Well, let's let them know what it's like so that we can save them the trip of going there. So this is an excellent idea, Councilor Dakota, and I'm honored to have shared this with her. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Manager?
Just very briefly, I've had some very preliminary discussions with Superintendent LaValle as well regarding this, and I know that there's some research that he's looking at with some partners that we have at Suffolk University that have done some work with this, and as we all know, we have a new sheriff, and the superintendent and I are going to be meeting with him in the very near future to talk about a number of different issues, and certainly this can be the one that we put on the table. But as I say, the superintendent's doing some work on this in anticipation that of this motion. So we'll follow up with this.
Thank you.
Council Murphy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. But I certainly understand the goal behind the motion, but I'm not sure that this is really probably the best way to achieve it. The literature that I have read suggests that it really, in the long term, is not only not necessarily effective, but can sometimes be counterproductive. And just recently, two officials from the Department of Justice had actually recommended against this particular type of approach, and as a result, I think the state of California, as well as the state of Maryland, have decided to suspend those programs. So I think that really a thorough review of the studies that are available is warranted. I know it's a sort of appealing approach, but that we really have to make policy based on what the research shows and not necessarily what's on television shows. And so I think some very thorough research ought to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, the motion asks for a feasibility, the feasibility of having the police in the sheriff's department. Council Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's an old cliche, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and this is a great motion. And if you can convince some youngsters who are on the borderline what direction to go in, once they visit the House of Correction or any institution where a person is kept against their will behind bars, it leaves a lasting impression. And if it can save one, just one, it's worth it. It's worth it.
Thank you. Anyone else on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed to vote. Next motion by Councilor Murphy. Motion, City Council requests the city manager to develop hearing process to align with the goals of the GOFA performance-based budget, greater transparency, and public participation. Second by Councilor Mendonça. Councilor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is sort of a follow-up to a motion I made over a year ago. And it was a part of our goals to follow through with the Government Finance Officers Association's recommendations for a performance-based budget. And I think that last year, the process itself was a bit confusing, convoluted. That may have been unique to last year, given that we had 3 different, I think, meetings all in one particular night. And I think that if we spread out the meetings that we do schedule and have very specific agendas for each of them, you may find that more people are willing to participate, because the meetings wouldn't be as long, and you would have more of an opportunity, if you couldn't be there one night, to be there another night and give some input to the process. I think also, as we are really moving towards that performance-based budget, that it would be a good time to receive presentations from the department heads on what has been achieved over the last year, and what goals we might have for the next year, and develop with them, or at least give input on the kinds of performance measurements that we would like to see as councilors and as citizens, the kind of things that we expect to be tracked by the departments themselves. So I think that really, if I'm trying to give, I guess, enough time before the budget process to figure out a better format that does encourage more public participation, and sort of clarifies for people what the budget process is. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Murphy. Anyone else on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed to the vote. The last motion of the evening by Councilor Mendonça. Motion, City Council requests a traffic engineer examine the intersection of Moody Street and Aiken Street for potential traffic safety improvements. Second by Councilor Broderick. Councilor Mendonça.
Yes, I'm just bringing this forward at the request of a resident at one of the neighborhood meetings. I was almost 2 weeks ago at the Acre neighborhood meeting. They call themselves Action. And one of the residents brought this up, that they live near there and they see people going through that intersection, some accidents and some near accidents. He was asking for an overhead blinking red light to go with the stop signs. I tried to, as the manager explained earlier, reduce expectations as to what might be done. It depends on the warrants, but I figured I'm not the expert. We'll let the traffic engineer take a look at it and see what he comes back with, and then I could present that or give it to the neighborhood group in order to get it back to that gentleman.
Thank you, Councilor Mendonça. Anyone on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed to the vote. The chair, with no objection, would like to recognize Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Just like a point of personal privilege, and I contacted my colleagues earlier today, and I spoke to Councilor Kevin Broderick last Friday, and I think I mentioned it to the manager maybe a month or so ago, maybe. And I'm in the city council. This is my 12th term, and I'm announcing that I'm not a candidate for re-election with the coming election that's coming this year. And people will probably ask, well, why are you making that announcement on March 1st? And I asked Senator Panagiotakis that question a year ago. And what he said was, I want to give someone else a chance to form an organization, a committee. There's an awful lot of hard work involved, and that's what I'm doing. It's been a wonderful experience, something that you could never get from a university or a college. I've worked with some wonderful people on this council. I've worked with some wonderful people in the past. And Councilor Richard Howe, Councilor Brendan Fleming, Councilor Bobby Kennedy, I can go on and on and on. And former Mayor Councilor Tarsi Poulias, and so forth. And it's just time I served my time, and you have to have that certain passion to run a campaign and get out there and meet the people. First and foremost, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, I want to thank all my supporters over the past 24 years. The people in this city have just been absolutely great and very supportive. And first and foremost, my wife, who many of my colleagues have committees and organizations, probably with 25 or 30 people. There was only 2 people of my organization, my wife and myself. And I don't know how many signs my wife put together and staple them and so forth. Well, we have some health issues in our family, and I just want to set my priorities where they should be, with my wife and my family. And I indicated to the manager earlier, I'm just a phone call away. Anytime I can come down and help, serve, and just be a part of a solution of a problem, just call me. I'll be there. But there's so many great people in the city. The philanthropist, Nancy and Richard Donahue, the Demoulas Foundation, the Baracus Foundation, John Chimley, Gary Seppi, Mr. and Mrs. Sabb on Andover Street. I can go on and on. And I told Lyle Moran, the Lowell Sun reporter today, that my motto in life has always been, I'm a spoke in a wheel, and the minute you think you're the hub of that wheel, you're in trouble. So I want to wish the council, the manager, Mr. Mayor, I want to wish you the best. And once again, I'll just be a phone call away, and I'll be around during the candidates' nights. I want to sit there in the audience and listen to all of you. And I know how nervous you will be, because I sat there many, many times. But I'll miss the debates. There's nothing like a great debate. And but once again, as Rita Mercier always said, once you go over that threshold, everything is forgotten. So God bless you all, and God bless the city of Lowell.
Thank you.
I never got an applause like that after I sang a song.
Thank you, Council Caulfield. On behalf of my colleagues, and for those of you that want to be heard, please just raise your hand. I too want to thank you for your 24 years of service. If you think of someone from the standpoint of constituent services and supporting neighborhood groups, you were there. Former mayor, twice mayor, you were there. You led a very good school committee. You're 2 times as mayor. You were involved in a number of important votes, not the least of which were the new schools that we built in this community. So on behalf of my colleagues, I want to give you a heartfelt thank you on behalf of my colleagues. Thank you. Councilor Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I, too, want to voice my opinion. There's no secret here that I admire Councilor Caulfield very, very much. When he called and told me this, it was a very sad day for me. It was an honor and a pleasure to serve with you. You're a gentleman through and through. You have so much compassion, and it's very hard to follow you and walk in your shoes. No doubt about that. The compassion just goes on and on. When there's a problem in the city, a flooding in 2006, or the pools will not be opened because we don't have enough money in the budget, Bud Caulfield led the charge, and I'm not going to deny that. That was nobody's idea but his own. And every time he'd say to me, what do you think? Are you with me? But I was always with you, because you always had a good idea, not about glory, about yourself, but for the good of the city, for the good of the people in the city of Lowell. You've got a wonderful heart. You're a gentleman through and through. I know this isn't easy for you after 24 years to bow out. I'm going to miss you tremendously. I always relied on your opinion, but I know how much you love your wife. I know she comes first. And so I respect you, I admire you, and I wish you the best of luck. You'll probably think you're still a city councilor because I'll be bugging you for your opinion and ideas and help and everything. So I'm just very sad to see you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Mercy. Council Caulfield.
Mr. Mayor, I neglected, I don't have a prepared speech, but the city employees, just phenomenal people. And whether they're a department head, a clerk, water department, wastewater, parks, recreation, DPW, Mr. Manager, they're good people. Good people.
Thank you. Council Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm one Councilor Caulfield who wasn't always with you. But I certainly admire your service to the city. I first met Councilor Caulfield when I was a player for the Highland Braves, and he was a coach. And I think that was around 1978. I'm trying to run through my head what year that might have been, but dates back to the late 70s. And I think it was a very nice gesture of you to call us all today. And what I said then was, what I said to you then, what I say now is that you've given a lot of good service to the city and been part of its progress. And, and I think that extends to your role here in the city council and to the many other things you've done in the community. So certainly you have a long record to be proud of in both endeavors. And we certainly wish you well, wish your family well. We hear there's an opening for a singer at the Super Bowl next year. Someone at least who knows the words. So you may be called and put in service again. We'll try and lobby for that, but that extends beyond the boundaries of Lowell. So thanks for all your good work here for the citizenry of the city, and I know we all appreciate it.
Thank you. Council Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have known Councilor Caulfield since I was on Little League, which was before 1978, and Councilor Caulfield's always been a hard worker. Whatever he did, outlining whether it was cutting the, this was before they had DPW and parks people out cutting the Little Leagues, out cutting the Little League field, chalking the lines, and since then I've known him to be a hard worker. He works at what he believes in, and I respect that about you. We haven't always been on the same side of things, but I have enjoyed sitting next to you. We've still been able to have some laughs, even if we disagree. And I would just ask that when you leave your draw for me, because I haven't had a draw for 6 years now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Broad. But just to give you an example of Councilor Caulfield's dedication to this community, he said, before we close tonight, make sure you mention Sunday at St. Patrick's Church, the 10 o'clock Mass and Irish Cultural Week beginning. So 10 o'clock Mass at St. Patrick's Church. Councilor Dakota, then Councilor Elliott.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. The very first council meeting that I had with you, I learned probably one of the most important lessons that I have and will ever learn in my life. We were debating something. You were pounded on the desk very, very strongly, feeling very passionately about what you were talking about. And then we took a vote, and I voted against your vote. And you just sat over after the vote was done, and you said, "You having fun yet?" And you told me not to worry about it, and you have been gracious to me, regardless of whether I supported your vote or not, and I appreciate that, and you're a true old-school gentleman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Dakota. Councilor Elliott.
Just briefly, it's only March 1st, so I know Council is going to be around for quite some time, but Councilor, I've been here for 14 years, and you have been here the whole time, and you have clearly been a great source of institutional knowledge for me, not only as a freshman councilor, but throughout this time. And I just want to echo a couple of words. When you think of the responsibilities and the duties of a city councilor, it's sitting here and it's going to meetings, but I think Bud sets the standard that it's a lot more than just going to meetings and ribbon cuttings. It's stepping up to causes in the time of need, and whether it was the flood or the Salvation Army, you know, and the list can go on and on. He clearly is a leader. I'm sure he will continue to be a leader. And he sets an example for people that want to come in and participate in public service, that it's more than just sitting here. It goes far beyond that. And I think that's an important lesson. I think it's an important notion to put forward, that you do more, you go above and beyond. And I think that's what clearly has set you apart, Council Caulfield. In your time on the council, it's going the extra yard and putting forth the extra effort for the people in the community that certainly need it most. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Elliott. Again, thank you, Councilor Caulfield, for calling us all today. It was really a wonderful gesture on your part, and big shoes to fill, but we look forward to the next few months as you continue your tenure here on the council.
You know, even though I'm leaving,
Yeah.
don't expect me not to be quiet. I'll still,
That's right,
I'll still have those debates, but once again, it's been a pleasure and an honor to serve the people of this great city and the history that the city has.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Caulfield. Motion to adjourn by Councilor Caulfield, seconded by Councilor Mercia. We stand adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, Angela.